about the system. And I said, okay, I want to do this.
Hmm. So are you Espanol?
Yeah, I'm Latin, so I'm
Oh,
primarily
wonderful.
Mexican.
Okay. I mean, I can pick up on the accent. I mean, I'm from Orlando, even though I've lived in Canada 30, this will be 36 years this year. But I've lived here most of, well, half of, well, court,
Mhm.
part of my life. And, but I'm from Orlando, actually, Orlando, Florida. I grew up in Fort Lauderdale and Miami. And then they offered me a job here in Canada, and I came. So I've been here ever since. I plan on retiring back at home in Fort Lauderdale. I'm going to buy a house in Fort Lauderdale and sit down and rest my nerves when all this is over. But hopefully, the next 10 or 12 years, it'll be prosperous and wonderful for us all because we're headed in the right direction. Now, today, there's a few things becoming Mr. Continental. It sort of has that feeling of masculinity and the fact of talent and the fact of you have a lot of weight on your shoulder. I mean, because Miss Continental is really established with a lot of great past performers that have upheld the system to this day with great performances, great charity work. A lot of them have opened up little businesses and things like this here and contributed a lot back into their community. And and you, as Mr. Continental, I want to talk about a few of the controversies that seem to surround the Mr. Continental um, presentation, I might say. A lot of the online questions are we see a lot about they seem to think a lot the Mr. Continentals are feminine men. And when we think of a Mr. Continental, we would think of someone like yourself that is, you know, masculine presenting um, in general. Now, what do you say about that? I mean, there's a lot of talk about that. I'm sure you've heard it.
Mhm. Sure. Do you mind if I just take a small pause for a second?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We're back.
All right, no problem. You know, we can always edit, cut, tape. You know how it goes.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, so even though I am current rating, I still see myself as a little bit of an outsider, because as you know, many people compete for over 10 years to win either Mr. or Miss. Usually takes more than one try. So, and this was my first kind of entry into the pageant world. So I definitely still have a more of a bystander perspective, even though I've been invested for about a year now in pageantry. Um, yeah, Mr. Continental does, from the outside looking in, if you were to compare many videos of different systems, it does appear that the Continental Mr. does have to be more male presenting, right? And that is just based on the formers, if you were to just watch those and compare with other formers. Um, but I strongly believe that's because of what you choose to present on stage and why you choose to present it. Um, I've recently been talking to a few gentlemen who I thought have a lot of talent and would encourage them to try the system themselves. And many things that come up are that they feel they're not male presenting enough, that they're too feminine. Um, but I want to encourage people to present themselves in their authentic self, um, and to be more visible as who you are. Don't emulate someone else. Be who is authentically you, so that other people may see that, oh, that's okay. I can be my authentic self. It can be somewhat feminine, whatever that means. Because these are all just social constructs. We are just ourselves. We just wear
Mhm.
several hats. Present who you are, and people will love you because you love you. And then when we stop trying to emulate what we perceive as masculinity, then we really get to the bread and butter of who we are as humans, regardless of our genitalia. Present you and others will embrace you. And if a
Mm.
system interpreted as just being a a sort of veneer of masculinity, it's only because that's the only majority presented to choose from. If you present a bunch of burgers, it's we're gonna choose a burger. You know what I mean? But choose a display a variety of gender presentations, and now we have so much more to choose from. You know, so I do see that, the formers do tend to have a similar aesthetic in terms of hyper male presenting in the queer world, because I think we are all, a bunch of queers out in the regular world. You can spot us, very easily.
Mhm.
But as far as it comes to being feminine and masculine, we do tend to present a little bit more. And anyway, when it comes to getting on stage, right? Once we strip everything down, we are just pieces of flesh. Some of us have higher voices, some of us have more, feminine quirks and characteristics. But I truly believe any sort of queer person, can win the Mr. category if they're their authentic self and present a strong package. The only thing that Continental requires is that you present those categories within the parameters, which are very simple. It's just cleanliness and fit of garments, cleanliness of talent, authentic answers that are short and sweet, but easily digestible. They say nothing about hypermasculinity and how you should look or act. Those are all just internalized things, That's why I love the saying, you too can be continental. It applies to everybody. Mr. Miss, and
Mm.
if you find yourself on the outskirts of a Mr. Miss, in between the Mr. Miss, matters not, You too can be continental.
Mhm. Wonderful said. You have a passion for that, so I can see that there was a sincere answer from you because I'm sure you've heard this before, and the concerns that the community and a lot of people are talking about it online. Now, another thing I want to talk about is the the charity work of Mr. Continental. Now, as you know, in the US and Chicago, I mean, Chicago, especially Chicago and New York, there's a lot of refugees coming into the country. And a lot of those men are LGBT, maybe LGBT or part of our community. And now, what do you think in general, not what Continental should do, but what should you do as a citizen and Mr. Continental to sort of reach out to the LGBT community of refugees or asylum seekers for to welcome them into the country or how to help them with either food, housing, information. What do you think you should be doing?
Yeah, well, charity work has always been something that's been near and dear to me. I've been on both ends of the spectrum when it comes to financial prosperity, right? I'm a first generation child of two immigrants, who came here for a better life. And we had nothing, and we relied on others' kindness and my parents' hard work and our savviness to get by. And there have been many times when I've encountered financial prosperity, and I've always found ways to give back via my business, hosting food drives or donating toys to Child for Tots or just donating profits to local charities in the DMV. And I understand, I'm very empathetic. So even though, we're very busy as human beings, trying to pay bills, trying to stay healthy, trying to connect with friends and family, it's very easy to get lost in the hustle and bustle of everyday life and not be connected to current events. I luckily have this, I say it's almost an addiction to the news cycle because I like to stay aware of what's happening. I like to stay aware of what's how it may affect me, my friends, my family, or just our everyday interactions. with society. Um, and I unfortunately don't have a lot of, um, I would say, I don't have a lot of insight in terms of what's happening right now with the displaced migrants, right? That are coming here. Because I'm in LA, so the biggest thing here is homelessness, right? So all I can ever really do is right now at the moment is help in a micro way, right? Just if someone is selling something, purchase from them, give anybody that asks me for something, the little micro things, or extend kindness, give water bottles whenever I see someone. It's very small, but it's those small gestures that I think are relatable to everyone that sees them, to them. I think it helps them not lose hope in people, because I do see them sometimes mistreated, sometimes ignored like they're not there. It's painful.
Mhm.
It's something that I like to help in as any way I can. When it comes to the larger scale problem, in terms of finding these people places to live, and making sure that they have the resources that they need. Oh my gosh, the only thing that I feel that we can do is continue to have a dialogue that people are aware, because I think the major problem is that people that we have is people are unaware, right? We're so caught up in life
Mhm.
and trying to stay alive ourselves that we're unaware of these things. So if we have this dialogue, if we share something as easy as a post or a YouTube video or something like that, we just get the word out that these people are here, why they're here, and that they need our help, so that we do, when we do have these interactions, that we are sympathetic and empathetic, and that it doesn't stop there, but that we continue to think of ways where we can help. That way, when we see someone, whether they're having like an online campaign, or maybe there's something as simple as outside a grocery store, they're collecting funds, so that we have somewhere to connect that to. I've seen someone, I've read something about that. It feels easier to give to a campaign like that because we're familiar with it.
Mhm.
Just bringing light to it, really. It seems silly, but I mean, our generation is so disconnected from the news and media in general, because it can be so toxic and so overwhelming, that we
Mhm.
sometimes are not aware of all these things that are happening, that are affecting us, that are affecting people like us. And these are people
Mhm.
just like us. They're our queer brothers and sisters, so they need us.
Hmm. That was a great answer. Thank you very much, sir. Now we're going to lighten the mood a little bit. I didn't want to bog you down with too many politics, but she did make it very clear that we need to touch on these things, and because Miss Continental has such a big platform and it has such a big voice, and we need to address these things that affect, like you said, our community and our surrounding communities and our family and friends, and these are things we need to talk about and address. So, because information is key.
Mhm.
Now, let's talk about the fact that Janae and yourself are both newcomers in the system of Continental. This is something that's amazing. It really is. And for you to have one on your first time and for her to have one on her first time is something that's incredible. And I want to say congratulations to you. You did a fantastic job. We watched the video from beginning to end, and you deserve to win. I'm just going to